everyone, and welcome back to part 2 of episode 2, where we're going to look at our basement design and our elevation plan. If you are just joining us and you haven't had an opportunity to check out part 1, you should take a chance to take a look at that, as that will help give you some context as to what the main floor is going to look like and how that will kind of reflect some of the decisions that we make on the first floor of the house. So without further ado, let's jump in to take a look at our basement plan. So there are a few things that we are considering as we look at designing the basement. We have just a rough layout of our foundation plan here that we can kind of work off of. And then there are some things that we wanted to have in the back of our mind as we're kind of determining what's going to go where. So one thing that we are kind of factoring in is that the utilities for our lot that we're going to build off of are going to come from this direction. They will be kind of off the garage towards the front end of the lot. So knowing those utilities are coming in, I'm assuming that the best bet is going to be to have those utilities run into the front of the house to prevent, otherwise we would have to go underneath the driveway, underground, and then we'd have to look at coming through this direction somewhere or even around to the back of the house, which could have some impacts on retaining walls and landscaping and how we do that. So I'm thinking that the best bet's going to be to come in from the front. So with that in mind, we're probably looking at utility hookups potentially in the basement down in this area. So that to me would make the most sense to have our utility room in that corner of the basement. So that's one factor we're kind of keeping in mind. And then we kind of have ideas of what we want to include in our basement. So we would like to have access to a shop space. That could be something we put in the garage, but I imagine eventually we're going to have 3 vehicles in our garage, which will definitely limit the space we have available to us. So in my mind, if we plan ahead for that, we could look at including the shop in the basement and have some access to the backyard through a larger door, which would make it a little bit easier to work out of and kind of keep it separated from the house, but utilizing the space we have available. We'd like to include a bedroom in the basement. We'd like to have an office / craft room area, some gym space to work out. We'd like to build a bar in the basement, have some game space, utility room like we had talked about, and then 1 to 1.5 bathrooms. So we can kind of factor that in as we are looking at how we want to design this space. All right, so let's talk about some easy things to kind of factor in that and maybe design around. We know that we're going to have our stairs coming down in this corner of the house here, and then we've got this little bump out. This is underneath our front door. So one thing for us to think about and maybe talk to our builder about is whether or not this front patio space that's going to be concrete is something that we would potentially look at extending and maybe taking out these walls here and doing extending the basement underneath this. I'm not sure that will necessarily be worth doing. So we're planning on, if we don't, it would make sense for this little bump out here to just be a closet space for some storage. And then looking behind this area, this is where the 2 bedrooms upstairs would be. So in terms of framing things in and sizing, it's already kind of pre-designed for us to have a bedroom in this area. So we would look at having a guest bedroom potentially on this side. It would be very matched with our upstairs bedroom. So it'd probably be about 12 by 12. You probably would have the door kind of in this area, and then do a closet leading into the bedroom. This would be a good guest bedroom space. Be separated from everything going on out here, kind of tucked in the corner. I would most likely, with the elevation that we're building on, where the hill is going down this direction, I think I talked about this with the main floor, but we would look at potentially doing our retaining wall off of this side of the house. We initially had it drawn up so it would be off the back, but I think with how steep the slope is going to be, if we did that, we would actually end up having to fill in quite a bit on this side of the house. In this basement, it's otherwise going to naturally be more exposed, which I think is okay because it'll allow us to put in some full-size windows and take advantage of that slope. So if we did the guest bedroom over here, we would probably put in a full-size window, would get in some nice light into that bedroom, would make it feel like more like you're living or sleeping in a main level of a house as opposed to being down in a basement. So then outside this bedroom area, it would probably make sense to have a bathroom area lined up. We would plan it relatively similar to how the upstairs bathroom is done, where you could have your sink. We would maybe look at doing a double sink vanity, and you could separate it out from a shower and then the toilet. We're planning on doing a walk-in shower in the basement just to make sure that it's always accessible. We'll have tubs in the bathrooms upstairs, so those will be available to anybody that needs it. But I think for the basement standpoint of, having parents visiting, having family staying with us, just having a walk-in shower is all we'll really need down there. So I think that's the plan with that. And so then this space, which is similar to a bedroom size, would probably be a good fit for maybe the office area. So I think what we would do is actually this would end up being pretty similar in design as upstairs, with this kind of being an open walkway. And then you could have a door into this, and this could be office / craft room. Oops, if I could spell it correctly. We'd be able to, if we wanted, we could build a closet in just like we did upstairs, for storing supplies. And then we could do a nice big window off the back of the house. We could do another window off the side of the house with it all being exposed, which would look really nice. Bring in a lot of light. The one thing to consider is upstairs, there's going to be that big deck built off the back. So this will kind of shade that window a little bit, but it should still pull in quite a bit of light, give you a good view down into the valley behind the house. And you'd still pull in plenty of light off of the window on the side of the house too. So that's kind of a couple of things that we're able to kind of narrow down right away in our plan. If we were looking at doing the utility room over here, I think we would do a similar, or at least we'd be able to narrow it down pretty quickly. We probably would look at having a wall out, something like this maybe. This kind of corner will be interesting here for us to think about, but I think utility in this corner makes the most sense. It's going to be right underneath the kitchen, so you're going to be able to run your plumbing pretty easily, your electrical easily to that high traffic area where you need a lot of stuff. You might need to access that at some point after building just for updates or for fixing anything. So it might be a good spot to have that utility room just from a construction standpoint too. So if we have utility there, we have a couple other things we're looking at: gym, bar, shop, game room. So one thing I was thinking with a shop space, it'd be nice to have a big door to access that. And I mean, you'll have a patio door most likely, but I'm not sure that I would want that off of a shop space. I would more want that to be something that people could access regularly from a lounging standpoint, where they could come in and access the bar, or they're going out to play in the yard. They don't have to go through the shop area. So I think the shop makes the most sense to have in this area of the basement. And then we would most likely do a pretty solid wall to separate that. Probably having the door in this corner here. And then a door out into the backyard area off of the back of the shop. So that way, too, if I am, you're bringing in sheets of wood to work on, lumber, you can carry it around to that space as opposed to trying to lumber it through the house or come through the patio and go across, where you've got lamps sitting out to hit furniture to go around. It's probably going to be easier just to have direct access to the yard from there. So one thing I'm wondering about is up above. This is where we are going to have a little bit of a concrete space coming out of that door from the garage. So I'm also similar to the front. I'm wondering if it would make sense to have that foundation or have an extension of this shop area to be underneath this concrete, or if that would maybe not be insulated as well. Maybe it's not worth it. But it could be something to use, or it could be utilized as a cold storage off the shop area, and then you'd still have access to that, cold storage it, or you don't, and then you just kind of leave it shop space as is. So this would be underneath the master bathroom and walk-in closets, and then this area would be underneath the master bedroom and dining room area. So few other pieces left with that. The gym and the game area, I think would make sense to kind of run on the back side of this house. Square that off a little bit more. Where you could have separate spaces. This would be a nice hallway here. So that way you could have those set up with some windows as well. Get some sunlight, put a window in, be able to put a window in here. And this would be, like I said, game. This is where we could set up our computers, all that stuff that we use regularly, but we could keep it out of a living room space, living room area. It might be nice if it was even here, but my concern is that this might only be 8 to 10 feet, might not be super wide for a room. I think that'll be one of those things that we kind of have to see as we move along, how that feels. So then we'd have our living room space and bar area, rec area would be nice big open space. I think we would tentatively tap into that utility room to put in our bar right off of that, and it would be a nice thing to see right when you're coming down the stairs. Yeah, too many stools here, too much space, but come down, have the bar area, and then we would most likely mount our big theater TV, and then have a nice couch seating area here in the middle. And we probably would do patio doors out underneath the deck, which we would probably pave, and maybe have some stuff down there. I'm not sure exactly what we would put. Probably just, some lounging furniture and stuff like that, so you could sit in the shade underneath the deck, and you could go down. Maybe if we have a fire pit in the yard, you could be kind of hanging out here as opposed to being on the deck, but we'll still have stairs coming down from the deck. So we'll have lots of options for just hanging out in general. So that 1 to 1.5 bath, that's kind of another thought. We could certainly utilize this bathroom. One thing I would think is if, you have family staying with you over the holidays, it'd be nice for them to have their kind of one-stop shop bathroom. So you could potentially squeeze a half bath in on this end of the utility. Turn this into a closet. And then you would still be able to, everybody that's in and out of the house hanging out is coming in using this half bathroom. Easier to clean after having a ton of people over. Easy to utilize. People can be in and out. So this is kind of just a general overview, general idea of how we would potentially lay out our basement. Things could obviously change as we learn more about how our foundation is set up. If we learn more from our builder, as they think we should maybe tweak some things just based on costs and how, the size of the rooms that we have, they might say, hey, your trusses aren't going to run perfectly across. You might want to shrink this in a couple of feet so that way you can run trusses normal length and don't have to pay extra to have them extended or build in supports. So we'll kind of see how that all factors in with our builder, and maybe we got to make some tweaks there as we move along. So this would kind of leave us with the hallway here. We would make sure that hallway is wide enough. Maybe we even do a pocket door for this closet just for some general storage. But overall, we kind of like this layout. We feel like it's pretty functional. You come down to the basement, you have that rec area right away. I would love to have like a pool table or something eventually. We're going to have just some general seating, like a cocktail table or two, that would make that space pretty fun to hang out in. So that's kind of the general layout of what we're looking at for our basement. So if you see any glaring issues or concerns or anything, let us know what you see and what you're thinking, and maybe it'll help us make some adjustments to our plan. So next, we're going to take a look at our elevation plan to see how that kind of looks from the outside and talk about some ideas with that. Okay, let's take a look at our elevation plan. This is just kind of a rough draft of what things would tentatively look like based on what we've tried to design so far. So starting down here at the bottom, we're kind of taking a look at what the front of the house might look like. So we've got the garage over on the right side, which would be bumped towards us if you were standing looking at the front of the house. Planning on doing some windows here. If we're doing that bonus space up in the attic area, we might even consider putting some type of window, up in the middle, if it would look nice, to get some light into that bonus area where we plan on having storage. Maybe we'll decide not to. Maybe it won't be necessary. So just something we might look at tweaking there. And then on the side of the house here, this would probably there'd be a little bit more of a contour here because this front section is going to bump out a little bit further, and this is where that green space is. This will be the laundry room, so we'll have kind of our vents for the laundry room down here. And then this will be a paved porch. We might do some type of railing, something decorative out front to make that look nice. And then this would be the side where the bedrooms are. And then we have to have stone on our house as part of the covenants and restrictions for building in the area that we're building in, which is not a problem because we do think it looks nice. So we just have this general stone added to the front. And we'll kind of consider how we want to do that. I'm partial and kind of like the idea of having, full side kind of decorated with that stone all the way up. I think that adds some nice detail to it. Might be something that we look at doing and figure out how we want to have this laid out with that stone. So looking from the side, this would be kind of the view looking into the garage. We had kind of gone back and forth on how we want to peak the roof. We're used to having the peak over the garage area, or the garage doors, as opposed to on that side. I don't think it ultimately matters either way, just as long as it sets up for that bonus room to have some nice access. We'll kind of be flexible with how that looks, and we'll work with our builder to see what's going to be best there. And this would be that concrete patio area, which you can also see on the back elevation. This is just coming out that door from the garage, which is right over here in this corner. This is going to be just a flat paved space that will connect probably with the driveway in some level as you have the driveway going up towards the road. Maybe it'll be a little bit more angled, but that'll give some space to back out and turn around, and just some extra driveway space for us to utilize. And the other thing is this, like I said, it's a pretty steep hill working its way down. So coming off the back of the house, if we have this filled in quite a bit, it's going to be a pretty steep drop off. So I don't want, to have the driveway end right here and just have a little path, because if someone backs out or if someone's driving down the driveway and they're sliding, I don't want them to slide through, a 8 to 10 foot drop towards the backyard. So I think off the back of this, we'll do some retaining wall off this direction. So then the back of the house is probably the most exciting thing to look at this point, just because there's so much to see and so much going on. So we'll have the deck off the back. It'll have some railings to it. We'll have the big patio door here underneath. This is kind of that area, and this is bumped, actually pushed away from us, where part of this part of the deck here is going to be covered by this roof line, just so that way we could set some patio furniture in there and enjoy some shade when it's really hot outside. So below that, on the basement level, we are more than likely going to have a patio door down there. And then over on this side, this is where that shop area would be. So we would likely have a double door into that shop area on this side. Then we'd have these windows in the middle here where we're looking at having that game room area and gym area. Probably a window on this side for the office area. So there's a lot. We would have a railing in, and maybe just in this corner, maybe we'll have, some chairs and stuff to sit. Say people are hanging out in the driveway, space to sit and supervise and watch whatever's going on if we don't have stuff set up in the garage. And then this is that side profile from the bedroom side where we have the two bedrooms. The hill is coming down at a fairly steep angle here. So this is where I think that retaining wall off the front with windows would be more beneficial. Probably have a bathroom window in there as well, because by the time you get, midway through the house, you're actually going to be below. So we'll probably be filling in a little bit on this side to keep things level and not go too far down below our foundation and risk any collapses or erosion or anything like that. So it's a quick overview of what the elevation plan looks like. So where do we go from here next? We're kind of in this stage where we're going to connect with our builder, submit these plans to them, and then work with them to make sure everything meets construction specifications and see what recommendations they have. So we might work back and forth a little bit while we tweak a few things just to see what they recommend and what they say. The next piece that I'm looking at and I'm trying to toy with is putting this into some 3D modeling software. I think it'd be really fun to put this blueprint into something where we can actually see what the wall height would look like, see what the rooms look like with furniture in them, different finishes. So I've actually been kind of taking some looks at that as we mess with things. But you can see as I imported our CAD drawing, the AI in the software kind of misread some things. So it thinks that, our kitchen has a full wall coming out to the middle of the island here. I got to go in and fix some of these things. It's like not connecting some walls here and there. So I'm going to toy with that and see what I can do with it. And hopefully moving forward, we can actually see like a full 3D model of our floor plan if I can figure this out. So I've got a little bit of time to figure that out as we're working with our builder to update things. So once we do that, that I think would maybe be what we take a look at in episode 3. In the meantime, if you have any other ideas or things you want us to explore and talk about, feel free to drop a comment and let me know what you're thinking.